guys, it's Michelle from Cozy Egg, and today is Wednesday, April 29th, 2020, and this is episode 86. So, how's it going? Here in Texas, we are still under a stay-at-home order, but they are starting to lift some restrictions. They're starting to allow non-essential businesses to open back up and allow for curbside service. Although now I'm seeing some shops saying, oh no, you can actually come in as long as you have a mask on and you practice social distancing. We are still seeing new cases reported. I'm staying at home. That's all I have to say. I'm staying at home. Today marks day 47 that I have been at home. I've ventured out to get the mail. I have ventured out to the end of the driveway with the trash. That's it. That's the only place I've been. So, but that's okay. I am safe at home. So, and I'm very thankful that I can work from home. I'm very thankful that I don't have a need to go out. So, anyway, so that's what's going on here. Obviously, normally when I record, I record once a month, and that's typically on the night that Eric is gone teaching a class. So, since we're both at home all the time, I did go ahead and record on my normal night a couple of weeks ago, but then decided, why not go ahead and record again? He is actually teaching a webinar tonight, or teaching via a webinar tonight. So it seemed like the perfect time, not only just to record again, but to talk about my plans for Mania, since that is coming up in 2 days. So anyway, that's why I'm here. So I hope the additional sort of unexpected video is a pleasant surprise. So let's jump into it, shall we? I did have a finish, and this is in my beautiful Alice in Wonderland bag made by, as I smack myself in the face with it, made by Christine Stitch All the Things. I'm absolutely in love with this bag. I bought it through Down Sunshine Lane when she was sending bags to them. It's got this beautiful sparkle vinyl red bottom, and on the zipper pull, a friend of mine gave me this little white rabbit charm to put on there. I think he's out of focus, but you get the idea. To put on there, and I absolutely love him. So, perfect for my Alice in Wonderland bag. And then I have a tag on here to tell me the 15 things that are in here. So, finish. So I have been, if you've been following on Instagram, you probably know that I've been just continuing to work on His Eyes on the Sparrow. And I'm like in a groove with it. So on the 13th, when of course it is Dark 13 stitching, Emily messaged me, Emily C from Eclectic Possessions messaged me and said, I'm really into working on my red deer sampler. I really don't want to stop, but it's dark 13 stitching. So she suggested starting one of the Be Well and Stitch freebies, the one by Night Spirit Studio called Self-Isolating Bat. And I was all in for that. So I gathered up what I needed, printed off the pattern, and started this on 13th for dark 13 stitching. And then I finished him. So here he is in all his glory. So I put him on the same, and that's showing up really blue, but this is like a charcoal gray fabric. And now it's looking sort of purple. But I put him on the same fabric that I stitched my other Be Well and Stitch freebie on, which is, I think, a 36 count. I was trying to see if the white balance would readjust, but not really. Anyway, I think this is a 36 count fabric. I believe that Sylvia, running with needles and scissors, dyed, and I may have over dyed it. I don't remember, but I think it's a 36 count. So there is my bat, and I'm super happy with him. So Emily finished hers, of course, long before I finished mine. In fact, I think she was picking out frames before I finished mine. But I'm really happy with the way that he turned out. So he's actually charted for those flowers to be a couple different shades of red. I had initially intended to do mine in, I pulled Gentle Arts Cinders, which is one of my favorite colors. And I had intended to do the flowers in that, but when I started to stitch the first one, you couldn't distinguish between the black and the cinders. So I pulled that out, and the color that I finally went with is a silk by Silken Colors called Vampire's Glamour. And I just had to use it on this because vampires. So it's a beautiful, beautiful color. And so I did the centers of the flowers in cinders, and you can just barely see that this outside border I did in cinders too. So you can kind of see the variegation in that, where it gets a little bit lighter, and you can tell it's not the black. And on Emily's, she filled in all of the leaves here in the background, and when I saw that she did that, I thought, oh, I'm totally doing that. I love how that looks. But when I started putting the flowers in, I decided that I actually liked it with that not filled in, because then it gives it more of an appearance of, you know, black lace or something, which I was kind of digging. So I just left that as is, let the fabric show through, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. So just a few stitching days, well worth it. And again, this is a freebie by Night Spirit Studio for Be Well and Stitch, which you can find all of the Be Well and Stitch freebies on Michelle Bendy's Instagram in her story highlights. She's been collecting all of them there. So if you're looking for some, go look at her Instagram stories, her highlights there. But really happy with this one. As soon as I saw it, I had pegged you know, that I wanted to stitch it. And so I was really happy that Emily suggested it. And so, like I said, it is on the same fabric that I did my other Be Well and Stitch piece on. This is the one by Lucy Beam. And I really love how that turned out. So I really am happy with both of these. I enjoyed stitching both of them. And I look forward to figuring out how I'm going to finish them. I haven't really decided yet, although I really think that I may want to frame the bat in an oval frame because it just sort of begs for that, but we'll see. This is also on the same piece of fabric that I have my Hallow Eden started on. So I'm pulling I'm pulling a Robert, because my friend Robert tends to, he will buy like a yard of fabric and he'll start a sampler on one end and then flip it over and start a sampler on the other end. So this is pulling a Robert in the very best sense of things. So, but I have to tell you that the more that I looked at my Hallow Eden, the more I want to get back to it. And had Emily not suggested doing the self-isolating bat, I might have been tempted to work on Hallow Eden, because I would really like to get back to that and finish it. So that was my start and finish since I saw you last. Other than that, I've had no new starts, no other finishes. I had intended to start the Beltane Free by Primitive Hair to go with that, you know, the whole set of the sabots that I'm stitching. I showed you Astara last time. I printed off the pattern for Beltane and I just literally have not pulled threads or fabric or anything for it. So that's likely not going to get done before Beltane, which is Friday. It is what it is. The best of intentions. So, as I said, I have been stitching on His Eyes on Sparrow, and that is living in this project bag that was made by Sylvia. She made one of these for each of us that was that we were going to do the Sparrow stitch along together, and so it lives in this bag. And I think somebody asked the last time I showed it if this fabric is still available, and Sylvia told me that at the time that she made these bags, which was in 2014, because this was my January 1st, 2015 start, this fabric was hard to find at that point. So 6 years later, probably not. But it's beautiful fabric. And then on the inside, it's got this sort of coverlet looking material, which I just love. So, scissor jail with a pom-pom, appropriate, no? And, oh, I don't know that I've ever showed you this. So, many years ago, I realize I'm off on a tangent, but many years ago, I got together with a group of friends for a get-together, and they do this gathering yearly and have for many years. They actually met on one of the old bulletin boards, and was it Off the Wagon or The Wagon? Something, anyway. And I have never been able to attend one of the get-togethers except for the one time that it was here in Texas. So I got to get to meet those ladies in person and stitch the weekend away. And while they were here, we did do some shopping, and one of the places that we went was Vera Bradley. And one of the ladies tipped me off on what I thought was an excellent idea, which is this little Vera Bradley case. I don't know what this is originally intended for. It may be a lipstick case, but it is the perfect thing for your cheaters. So I have a pair of cheaters that did not come with a case in my cute little Vera Bradley case. And every time I look at this, I think of that weekend, and it just puts a big smile on my face. So one of the people that I got to meet that weekend was Annette from Annette's Acre. We had known each other online for a long time, so getting to finally meet her in person was a big treat. So every time I see this, I think of that weekend. So anyway, back to Sparrow. So I think when I showed you last, I was working on page 2, and I have since finished page 2, and I'm in the process of working on page 3. So here is where I'm at. I did finish the house, and this is the center of the piece. There are basically 3 rows of pages. So this is kind of the top row of pages here. And the verse goes right here. So I've passed the center point, which I'm very excited about. And like I said, I'm working on page 3. So I stitched the horse. I brought the border, the top border across. Finished, of course, this part of the house. And then I've been working on these little motifs here, the squirrel and the bird, this little thing. And last night, while I was on a Zoom stitching evening, I did this flower, and I started on this bird. That bird's gonna have to come out though, because by that point, my eyes were starting to cross because I was so tired. But I am so thrilled with the way that my house turned out. I absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it. And this needle minder I bought from Beth Twist. It's got the tree with Adam and Eve that goes right down here. So of course I had to have that. Love it. Really happy with it. And so again, I am stitching this with the called for threads, which is, some are Gentle Arts. I think there's some weeks, there might be some Classic Colorworks. Maybe, don't quote me on that. Whatever the called for are. That's what I'm stitching with. Mine, of course, the colors are very vibrant and saturated. And that's really due to the fact that this is a 48 count linen. You know, Beth's original, I think she stitched on 28 count with 1 strand. So it gave it a very, you know, light, airy look, primitive look. I'm really loving how this looks because I really love those saturated colors. And I'm thrilled with it. And I've been really enjoying stitching on this, you know, the past month or so, other than when I was working on my bat. So, yeah, I'm really happy. So, you know, one side is basically a mirror image of the other. And so you can see that bird and the squirrel here, and then the cow. And so that's what I'm getting to right here is that cow, and then I think that's the border. So I'm getting really close to the other side there, but I still have a ways to go down here. I have, you know, the flower pot and this big bird and the start of the deer. So I have a little ways to go. But this is what I've been focusing on. I've been really enjoying it, and I'm really glad that I picked this back up and that I've been able to do a good bit of stitching on it. So yeah, and that's really all that I've worked on. So I did have a little more stash enhancement that I will show you. It's already been sort of packed into my project bags here, but let me pull this out. So I did place an order with Kitten Stitcher because I had been looking for fabric for Anne Ufendel, and you know, Lakeside is hard to come by. I really wanted the Lakeside pecan butter. You know, I kind of spaced and didn't do it when it was available, and then I sort of panicked and it wasn't available, and yeah. So I did, you know, shoot an email over to Kitten Stitcher and asked her, you know, what she would recommend that was comparable to, what am I even trying to say? That was comparable to pecan butter. And she suggested XJU Designs Light Hazelnut. She said that that's the fabric that she had been recommending to folks, that it's beautiful fabric, and she highly recommends it, which I had heard from other folks, from other people. So I thought, yeah, let's do that. I want to give it a try. And so she was expecting a shipment shortly. And so she, you know, I waited for her to email me to tell me that she had some in, and as soon as she sent me that email, I jumped up on her site and hit add to cart. So this is the fabric, and it's really, really gorgeous. It's looking very yellow in this picture, in the video, but it is not. It is a beautiful light hazelnut color. I mean, it's gorgeous. So I'm really pleased with it. And this is my first piece of XJU fabric. It's a Zweigart base, which you can tell from the selvage. Teresa puts a beautiful little tag on here so that you know what you got. This is 40 count, and it's got very light modeling on it, which is perfect because I didn't want anything that was too, you know, in your face for Anne. So I'm really happy with that. And I bought a half yard, which is what I need for that sampler because she's a big girl. I also, while I was at it, bought 2 of the threads that I need for that primitive hair raven that I showed you that was new for market. So Garden Gate and Pecan Pie. I just wanted to have brand new skeins of these because I think on that 30 count linen I'll have to use 2 threads, so that may kind of eat these up. So I just figured I'll just order a couple new skeins so that I'm ready to go. So, and that's all I ordered. But that was a big chunk of change for me. So, and Teresa did send a freebie in my package called Live Simply by Hands to Work, which is a very sweet little piece. So it was nice to get that in the mail as well. All right. that's all the stash enhancement that I had. That was the last little bit that I was waiting on, and really it was just a matter of waiting for her shipment to come in. But I'm definitely going to be ordering more XJU designs. I think she's got one, a color called no, maybe I'm mixing up my fabrics now. I was gonna say green tea. That's really beautiful, that I think may be the next one that I want to get. I don't know what to put on it, but I don't care, it's pretty. So that may be next on my list. So that's it for stash enhancement. So now what we're all here for, Mania plans. I kind of went back and forth about whether or not to do Mania, because like I said, I've got my momentum going with Sparrow. I didn't want to lose that, and I'm enjoying stitching on it. But I also know that now that I have the fabric that I've been waiting on, I might want to do some other stuff. So what I decided that I would do is sort of a version of Lindy Stitch's Mania plan. And so what she is doing, and she explains it in one of her videos, I think that the title of that video is Stitch Mania. What she is planning on doing is choosing a focus piece that she wants to get a lot of progress in on. She's going to work on that during the week and set a goal for herself that she wants to achieve during that week. And if she hits that goal, then on the weekend she can have a new start. And then the following Monday, go back to her focus piece. And so it's sort of a, carrot and stick plan of attack, so that you if you hit your goals on the piece that you're wanting to make progress on, then you get a new start. So I thought, I really like that idea, but I am sort of anti new start still. I really want to get some of these whips done. And so I kind of circled back around to the idea that I was following a couple years ago for Mania, which was, sampler Mania, and working on some of my sampler whips. And I saw today on Instagram that Ellen Chester is planning on doing Stitch Mania as well, but she is planning on doing also Sampler Mania. And so she's chosen the Little Gems samplers from Hands Across the Sea that are PDF downloads that you can get. They're small, really manageable, bite-sized samplers that are really beautiful. So she's going to do those, and then also continue on a piece by the Scarlet House that she's working on as well. So I think that's a great idea, and it reinforced my plan to do Sampler Mania. So I thought I'd show you what I chose. So I am planning on, during the week, Monday through Thursday, working on Sparrow and trying to get as much progress in as possible. I would love to be able to finish a page in a week. I don't know that that's doable, just based on my stitching speed. So I'm not going to set a specific goal for myself, but I would like to, continue to have that momentum, continue to make progress on it. And ideally, by the end of Mania, I'd like to be, past that top row and well into the middle row is where I'd like to be. So, so Monday through Thursdays, Sparrow. And then I wanted to sort of follow Emily's lead. She, did a video with her Sampler Mania or Stitch Mania plans, although hers are kind of Sampler Mania as well. She did a video on that and said that she was wanting to focus on her Red Deer sampler during the week, and then on the weekends, like on Fridays, switch to a new start. And so she would be working on her new start. I have a helper, so let me move some things before we have a problem. So she wants to, on Fridays have a new start and stitch on that new start Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then go back to her red deer sampler. Say hello. Say hello. Go back to her red deer sampler during the week. This is Tut, by the way, if you couldn't tell. Oh, yes, lay right there. That's perfect. Perfect. Anyway, so I liked the idea of not just doing Saturday and Sundays, but including Friday in there as well. Because, as I was doing a rotation regularly, I always like to switch to something new on Fridays because I like to participate in Friday Off the Grid. And it's always fun to kind of, pick a new project for that, kick off the weekend with something different. So I liked that idea. So Sparrow Monday through Thursday, and then starting on Friday, I'm gonna work on something else, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then back to Sparrow. So there are 5 Fridays in May, starting with May 1st, which is this coming Friday. And so, of course, being May 1st, of course, being the beginning of Mania, of course, now that my fabric has come in, what better time to start Anne Ufendel, right as Olivia finishes hers. So, yes, I'm sorry. Please excuse me. So, Anne Ufendel. And I have left it in its protective sleeve because this is a borrowed chart. This is the limited edition that has both Anne and her sister Isabella in it. And I don't want anything to happen to it, so it stays in this protective sleeve. I've made my working copy, I'm good to go. But I am going to, on May 1st, start Anne Ufendel, which I am super excited about. This is by Hands Across the Sea. I've been in love with this for a long time. I've been kicking myself for not having purchased it when it first came out. I'm so happy that she re-released it. I'm so happy that someone let me borrow theirs before that happened. And now I can finally start it. So I can't wait. And I think she's going to be really pretty on this fabric. I am going to do it in DMC. I see nothing at all wrong with working in DMC. I have no problem with it. Although if you're reading, Facebook comments on some of the stitching groups, apparently the consensus is that everyone has a problem with DMC and Ada or lower count fabrics, which is not the case. Everyone doesn't. Just because I prefer to work on 40 count fabric or above doesn't mean I'm judging anybody that is working on something on a different count. And I am happy using DMC because I can't afford silks for everything. So anyway, this is the project bag that this is going to live in. This is my macaron bag that I made not too long ago with some gorgeous, gorgeous fabric that a friend brought back from Paris and gave each of us a piece of so that we could make a project bag when we were learning how to do them. And I'm completely in love with it. And completely in love with the lime green zipper and the lime green inside. And I put my little knitting stitch marker macaron that is from Sucra Miniatures on here as a zipper pull, and I think it's perfect because we all know I'm not knitting. So I have pulled my DMC, and my intention was to put these on thread drops. I did find my thread drops and I have them in this bag, but my thread has not yet made it onto the thread drop. So just imagine it with me. But I have all but 2 of the threads that I need. There are 2 that I do not have. And with things being the way that they are, I'm just gonna work around it for right now. If I happen to make an order to someplace else, I may see if they have DMC and see if I can order those too, because I'm not venturing out for 2 DMC threads. Not happening. So I just need 2, but hopefully I can work around it. And I did put my one of my favorite pairs of scissors in here. These are my matte black Dovo scissors that I just love. They are super sharp, and they come with their own scissor jail. So I put these in here, so I have one of my favorite pair of scissors in here, and like I said, I have my working copy already printed out, ready to go. And now that I have my fabric, I'm definitely ready to go. So exciting. Now all I need to do is figure out get my threads sorted so that I can start on Friday night. Why don't you want to go in there? So, Anna Ufendel is going to be my first Hands Across the Sea sampler and my first Mania start, which I'm super excited about. And the first vinyl project bag that I made. So, that's week 1. Excuse me. Okay, I have to look and see what week 2 is. The next Friday is May 8th. And this is a whip. This is living in another project bag that Sylvia made for me. This is out of a laminate fabric, which is sort of like oilcloth, but much more pliable and flexible. It's really beautiful. And your project stays, super protected in here, since we all know that I have spilled coffee on a project bag before that had Anniversaries of the Heart in it. There's the inside, and this is a big roomy bag, so I can actually put my 11 by 11 Q-snap in it, so I love that size. And so on the 8th, I'm going to get this out. This was a Mania start a couple years ago, possibly during Sampler Mania, may have been the year before. This is Handwork Samplers, Frances Eaton. And there is a picture of what it looks like. It's, of course, an Adam and Eve. It's got some fancy, super cool houses down there at the bottom. And this has just some beautiful, bright, vibrant colors in it. I have been in love with it since I first saw it on Siobhan's blog a million years ago. And when I got to, looking at actually starting this and picking fabric for it and everything, Katrina and I decided we wanted to do it just like Siobhan did hers. So we got the same fabric and we ordered the HDF hand-dyed fibers, Vicki Clayton, whatever, silks for it that Siobhan used so that we could be just like Siobhan because hers was gorgeous. So And actually, I think the fabric and the silks were gifted to me by Katrina, so, which was a very, very sweet gift. So here's where I'm at. And I started sort of right in the center with the big hill, really because I wanted to start the snake. I worked on this during Magical Stitches, so it did see some love. I got Eve stitched in there and the crown and the top of the tree and everything. And I just love this. I absolutely love it. And I love the colors. These are the Vicki Clayton silks. That some you can see some of them are on spools, some of them are on these kind of tags. But I'm totally in love. I did make a couple of adjustments. There were a few threads that I thought that the conversion to the Vicki Clayton silks were maybe not exactly, you know, what it looked like to my eye on the sampler. And so I did actually pull, in a couple of cases where I thought it was way different, I did actually pull the DMCs. So, and I was gonna actually take these all off of these, out of the bags and put them on thread drops. And I had this beautiful thread ring from Becky Socks for Mom that has a crown on it and this beautiful lady. I was going to take them all off and put them on thread drops on this, and then when I opened the bag I realized, oh, like almost all of these are on spools. That's not going to work. So I had to revisit that plan, but I may just take them off the ring that I have them on and put them on that ring, because right now I just have them on one of these fantastic wire rings that I think Emily gave me. So this whole project is like gifts from friends, and the fabric is Lakeside 40 count vintage exemplar, not light exemplar, just exemplar, so it's a little darker. So I'm really excited to get back to this. I just love it. It's so pretty, and I can't wait to, you know, get more of these colors in. So that's what I'm going to work on starting on the 8th for that weekend. Very much looking forward to that. And then the next weekend is the 15th. And so for that, I have a piece that I've been thinking about a lot lately. So I think I've mentioned before that that I do my journaling in day one in that app. And so one of the things I love about it is that when I go into it in the morning, it has a little, you know, on this day thing that I can click, and it pulls up all of my posts from that date for every year that I've been doing my journaling, so that I can look back at what happened last year on this date, what happened 4 years ago, what happened 6 years ago. And it's really interesting just to sort of look back at things. And so recently, of course, what came up was the fire at Notre Dame. And when that happened, this was the piece that I pulled out to work on. And unfortunately, as is often the case when I'm anxious or not myself, I sort of take it out on my stitching. And I start second guessing myself, and I start, thinking I need to change colors or worrying about is it the right fabric or what have you. And that's exactly what happened with this. And I really should have just put it away, because I think I did more harm than good. But since I saw that come up in my journal, I've been thinking a lot about this piece and wanting to get it out again. But I was also, in my groove with Sparrow. So when I decided to do kind of a sampler mania and pull out some of my old whips, this was at the top of my list, because I really wanted to work on it again. So this is in another bag by Sylvia. This is a spoil of riches. And it's another laminate bag. This is in Tulip Pink Parisville, which is some of my favorite fabric ever, because it's got that Marie Antoinette on there. And I just love it. Just love it. And I think Sylvia showed this in one of her whip parade videos lately. And the inside has that beautiful French lace looking fabric. So this is the Marquois de Justine, which is I don't think available anymore. And in fact, at the time that I bought this, I had a super bad experience with trying to get it. So I won't send anybody on that wild goose chase, because it was bad. So this is the antique, and then in here is a picture of the repro, which is really pretty. This is another one that Siobhan did, and I think hers was on Vintage Nutmeg, and it was absolutely gorgeous, and had to have it, had to do it. And so this was one that had been like high on my radar, but I had, never started it. And so when I went to visit Sylvia a few years ago, we went to Paris and decided that we, of course, needed a new start for while we were in Paris. And this seemed like the perfect thing. So we started this while we were there. And so anytime I work on it, of course, I think of Paris, and that's why I got it out when I was panicking over the state of Notre Dame. So here's where I'm at, and this is on a Vicky Clayton linen that I believe that Sylvia overdyed or aged, and I think it's 40 count. So here's where I'm at, and this is a beautiful, beautiful linen. So here's what happened. So I'm doing this in silks. It actually called for, I think it calls for a Veriswell. No. So the way that this, so the threads, it calls for, it gives you DMCs, Gentle Arts, Dinky Dyes, or NPIs. And so I decided I was just going to do my own silk conversion, because my local needle workshop didn't have Dinky Dyes. I don't love NPIs. I wanted something that had a little bit of variegation to it, and the NPIs are a little thin to me. I love Dinky Dyes, but they didn't have those. So, but I wanted to do it in silk, because if you're going to start a sampler in Paris, why not? So I did my own conversion, And in doing that, I've got some Verissoirs, I have some Glorianas. Those are all Glorianas. I have some water lilies. Yeah. So the problem that I was having with this, that I thought, was the red that I picked was kind of pink-ish rather than like a true red. And so I got it in my head that I wanted to rip all of that out and replace it with a true red. And so I started doing that. And I actually, so here, I ripped this out and replaced it with a true red, and I did the same here. And then I got to thinking about it and decided, you know, the Gentle Art, the gas that this calls for is cherry wine. It's not a true red. It has a pinkish hue to it. And so then I regretted my choice. So then I decided, no, maybe I need to go back to the pinkish red. And I checked with Sylvia, and I think Sylvia's doing hers and Vicki Clayton's. And she's like, no, mine is a pinkish red too. So I'm gonna pull out the true red and go back to my original choice, which is a Verissois 2946, which is kind of a pinkish red. It's, you know, probably a cherry wine color. That was my first problem. So all that's gonna come back out and be restitched. My second problem was that I have this sort of ecru color, and then I have this pale, pale, pale yellow. And it is difficult to distinguish between the two. So I decided maybe I should replace that pale, pale yellow with something that's a little more gold. So then I started ripping things out and restitching them. And I don't know if I like that or not. So I think right here, I had restitched this in the more gold and this. And then I think I did all of these in that pinkish red. That's when I decided that's what I wanted to go back to. So this is why it is sometimes not a good idea to stitch when you're having major anxiety, because you cause your future self many problems. Because I get indecisive and I second guess myself and whatever. So when I get this back out, I'm going to have to make some repairs, so to speak, but that's okay. I'm really happy that I'm gonna have this back out again. And so if you saw Sylvia's, so she sort of started in the bottom and was working her way up, and I started at the top and I'm working my way down. And she stitched one of these birds, I think maybe this one, on my piece. And down at the bottom, there's a little devil dog that I stitched on hers, because of course. So anyway, I'm happy to get this back out, and then I will fix it. But it's a beautiful, beautiful cathedral sampler. I have several other cathedral samplers that I want to stitch. One of those being Virginie Grignot by GGR. And then there is one by Kitten Stitcher, Shakespeare's Peddler. which I think is called Eugenie Fraser, which is beautiful. And I would really like to hang all three of those together. So that's my plan. But I gotta sort this one out first. So, Justine is project number 3. And then the 4th weekend in May, I thought it was time for another new start. See, I'm not going crazy, just 2 new starts, that's all. And this is in my bag made by Becky Socks for Mom. Beautiful. This housed my Crown Bird sampler, but now that Crown Bird is finished, something else could go in here. So I thought that it was the perfect time to start Birds of a Feather Happy Heart Sampler. And this was passed on to me from Amy Baruch, who did a gorgeous, gorgeous version of this. And let me take a moment and just say, Amy just finished Tombstone Spots by the Primitive Needle, which is high on my immediate radar and has been for some time, but I keep telling myself I need to do Black and Sky first. Not only does she have a beautiful finish, but her FFO is freaking killer. It is so perfect for that piece, so amazing. I mean, Amy is kind of a master at FFOing things because she does some really unique and interesting finishing. But the way that she has finished Tombstone Spots, I'm dead on the floor, literally. I can't even. So now I'm like, now I'm gonna have to finish mine like yours. So, yeah. But I need to finish Black and Sky first. So anyway, back to this. So this was passed on to me by Amy Baruch, and super excited to stitch this. This is going to be another piece that I want to stitch for Eric for Valentine's Day / anniversary. And by the way, I gave him Colonial Garden for our anniversary, which was at the beginning of April. It is not framed, nor could I get out and go get a frame, so whatever, but I gave it to him and he loves it. So now we're gonna frame it and put it in the bedroom. But this is gonna be the next piece that I stitch for him, and I'm really excited about it. So I'm going to start this, and I got Lakeside 40 count sand dune for it, which is a beautiful warm fabric, which I think is perfect. And I'm going to stitch this with, it calls for weeks, as a lot of the Birds of a Feather charts do. So I pulled all of the weeks that I have, and then I had a couple that I didn't have. And so I just pulled the DMC equivalents for those. And I may go ahead and see if I can order what I need for these if I place an order someplace. But I have them on my Red Deer sampler from Socks for Mom thread keep. It was a sweet gift. So I just love the colors. I love this fabric. I'm so excited that I found some Lakeside for it. And I think it's gonna be really pretty. I have loved this piece for years and years and years. This was another piece that like Siobhan did that I wanted to do because she's fantastic. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, Siobhan lives in Ireland. Her Instagram name used to be Siobhan C. I think she has recently changed it over to be Siobhan Quilts, maybe. And she, for years and years and years, was a very prolific and fantastic stitcher. She's one of the people that influenced me on stitching samplers and Adam and Eve samplers. In fact, we, really got to know each other doing some from the, back when Yahoo groups were a thing. We, kind of got to know each other on the Carriage House Samplings Yahoo group, and we started a stitch along of Shores and Adam and Eve, neither of which I have finished. And then I think we started another stitch along for something else. Anyway, but she has a blog that is still out there called Notes from Blue Hen Hollow, and it is full of gorgeous sampler finishes, beautiful stitching, etc. And her quilting that she is doing now is just as gorgeous, if not more so, than her stitching. I am so inspired every day that I see one of her posts, and I just love her to death. So that's who I'm talking about. So I'm finally going to stitch this piece that I have been in love with since I saw Siobhan do it. So there's two Siobhan three actually. 3 Siobhan inspirations. And there's a fourth one. So, Happy Heart Sampler is going to be on the 22nd, and then on the 29th, I couldn't decide. I have 2 choices, so help me decide. My first choice also lives in the Alice bag, because I like to double dip on my bags, because I have more whips than bags. My first option is the 3 Things Sampler by Maura Blackburn, that I started as a stitch along with Emily. Of course, Emily has finished hers and it's framed and hanging in her new house. Mine is still in this project bag. Whatever. But here's where I'm at. And let me see if I can get that to not be wonky. Nope. You would think I had never done this before. Anyway, okay, that's whatever. So I am changing the colors on this and making decisions sort of as I go. But I wanted it to be sort of more jewel toned than it has some sort of pastel looking, lavenders and pinks and light blues and so on and so forth. And I wanted it to be more jewel toned. And I'm really super happy with it. And Becky, there is Raspberry Parfait right there in the border. So I love this. And I'd really like to get more done on it because it is just so pretty. And I'm stitching it on a 36 count mystery fabric that was in my stash that was probably meant for something, but who knows what that was. And I'm stitching it 2/2. I tried one, this is why I don't like to stitch on 36 count, because it's an in-between size for me. 1 strand is not enough, and 2 strands is sometimes too bulky. It kind of depends on the fabric. So I think this is a Lakeside. I think it's vintage light exemplar. I could be wrong, but 1/2 was way too sparse, and that was a definite no. So I'm doing it 2/2. I love the coverage that I'm getting. I don't think it's too bulky, and I'm really, really quite pleased with it. And in some cases, I'm not changing the colors. So like this teal flower, that's as designed. The blue flower, on the other hand, that lighter blue is what's called for, but it was the darker of the two blues. And so what I did was use this blue as the lighter blue, and then I pulled a darker blue. And I'm really happy with it. Really happy with it. So this is choice number 1. And I'm stitching this with Notions pouch. I am stitching this with some overdyes, Raspberry Parfait. Becky was talking about Raspberry Parfait on one of her Instagram posts today, and I'm like, hey, I'm using that in my 3 things sampler. And then we decided that that sounded really delicious, and we really wish that we had one right now. These are the called for colors. I just went ahead and pulled them so that I could kind of work from there. But you can see they're much more pastel. They're not really my thing. So yeah. But this helps me to be able to kind of pull something similar but darker, or similar but more of a jewel tone, a little more saturated color, which is my jam. So, and that darker blue that I pulled is Gentle Arts Freedom, which is really pretty. And I've got some Whiskey and some Old Oak Tree and some Red Rocks, Onion Skin Chestnut. Yeah, and Schneckley, because I just like saying that word. So I'm stitching this, like I said, with some DMC, some overdyes, combo of the two, whatever floats my boat. Okay, so 3 things. My other choice is another whip. This is in another Parisville bag made by Sylvia. This was the first one that she made me, actually. And it has this beautiful Spencer stripe in there, or scroll. This is another Siobhan influence. This is Victorine Delacroix by the Sampler. And this was also I think Katrina and I bought these together as well. So I just love this. I love it so, so much. And my friend Susan has stitched this, and it's hanging in her entryway. I think I've talked about this before, and every time I go to her house, I just want to take it off the wall and bring it home, because it is stunning. Stunning. So I bought this as a kit. I think once a year Sampler does a sale on their kits, and so we took advantage of that. And so you get the chart and the linen and the silks, and they come on a card like this, and then you have to figure out which ones they might be. And if I had to guess, I would say that these are Versoises. And I just have them all in floss away bags where you can't see them. So one of these days, maybe I'll put these on thread drops when I get back to working on this actively again. But the colors are really, really pretty. And this is a Lakeside, but who knows what color, since it was part of this kit. But that's where I'm at. Not very far at all, but I love it. I love this bright green, sort of pistachio color next to these sort of, you know, drab brown flowers. I just think that's fab. And the last time I picked this up, I worked on this motif. I did that whole thing with that the over one initials. I just love it. I'm really excited to get some blue in there. So I was sort of trying to work my way down to get to some blue because the blue is super vibrant. So this was my other choice. So 3 things or Victorine. Vote below. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I would be happy with either one because they're both gorgeous. Both gorgeous. So that's my plan for Sampler Mania. And like I said, I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited to get some more progress in on Sparrow. I'm really excited to work on some of my sampler whips that I would really like to see finished. Not that I will finish them in May, just working on them for 3 days, but regardless, I'm really excited to get some progress in on some of my whips, and I'm excited to start 2 new samplers that I've been wanting to start forever and ever. So starting new things gives me a little bit of angst. One, because I always seem to jack it up at the very beginning, but then it's sort of over and out of the way. I either start in the wrong place or something crazy. Plus, you know, I have so many whips that I hate to add to them, but I really need to get an Ufanel stitch so I can get the chart back to the person that graciously let me borrow it. And 2, I'm really excited to start Happy Heart Sampler for Eric. And I'm super thrilled that Amy passed that on to me so that I could fulfill my dream of finally stitching this piece. So yeah, I'm really excited about Mania. Of course, I reserve the right to throw all of these plans aside at any given moment. But I'm really looking forward to it. And I don't think it will be too overwhelming. And I don't think it's too many projects. I think it'll be just the right mix of, you know, it will give me long enough to work on things, you know, to see a good bit of progress, I think. So, yeah, that's the plan. So, I mentioned last time that I have some other videos that I'm working on. One of them is, I thought it might be fun, even though, you know, this is from a couple years ago, when I did my 100 days of chatelaine stitching, and I worked on and finished my Mystery 9 sampler. I took photos of that every day, and so I thought it would be kind of fun to put that together in like a time-lapse video and sort of show that progress through the 100 days. So I'm working on compiling that. The other thing is that Mania a couple years ago is when I started my haunted dollhouse, and the videos about it are sort of in my Mania videos in my vlogs from that year. So what I've done is I've pulled those out, and I was going to put together a compilation of those videos kind of explaining, how I got started, what it looked like before, some of the work that Eric and I did before I started filming it, and sort of how that project got started. And my dollhouse has been on my mind quite a bit lately, and so I just posted on Instagram tonight that my plan on Friday, I'm taking a vacation day on Friday because I need a break from work, and so I'm going to work on my dollhouse. And I'm really excited about that. So I've been sort of stuck with it, but I'm going to work on it on Friday, and I'm really looking forward to it. And so, so I thought I would put together that video of kind of how that project started, and sort of the compilation of those clips that I put together all in one place. So if you didn't see those videos, you can just watch it all together and see how that project started. So so I've got those 2 videos that I'm working on, and then the other thing that I thought I might do is, it's been a while since I did a whip parade. I don't know if you guys would be interested in seeing another whip parade, but I thought I might do that. I am in dire need of going through my projects, so I thought it might be a perfect time to just film a whip parade. And I've been so inspired by watching Sylvia's whip parade that she's been doing that I thought, you know what? Maybe it's time to do that again. Let me know. Yeah, let me know if you're interested in seeing that again. So, of course, it's changed a little bit, but not a ton. So anyway, those are my plans, and I'm excited to get started on Anne Ufendel. I'm going to see about putting my threads on thread drops, but if they don't get on there, they'll stitch just the same. So yeah, that's it. So thank you guys so much for tuning in and for liking and commenting and subscribing and all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your feedback on my posts and everything. So of course, you can find me on Instagram. One of these days I'll get my blog updated so that there will be show notes. But yeah, whatever. Anyway, so thanks for tuning in, and stay safe, stay healthy, enjoy your stitching, and we'll see you soon. Bye.